It is that time again, our Cleveland Browns pregame show on cleveland.com. We are live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Dan Labbe. He's Branson Wright. We'll also be joined by Tom Reed and Mary Kay Cabot as we go along over the next 15 minutes. And Branson, it is official. The Browns are not playing for anything as of last night when San Diego came back and beat San Francisco.
Yes, I don't want to say deja vu all over again, but it's deja vu all over again, all over again, all over again. And it's a shame, especially how the season started, at least the middle of the season. There was so much optimism. They had a winning record. They seemed to be on a roll. And then right now the Browns are where they've been the past few years, especially since last year, where they faltered in the last half of the season.
Now, one thing that is different from last year, of course, is last year you're running out Jason Campbell, you're running out Brandon Whedon. This year you got to find out about Johnny Manziel. His debut, obviously, not so good. What do you need to see from Johnny today to make you feel like, all right, maybe he can show us something else again in Baltimore, and maybe he's the long-term answer?
Well, complete some passes. That's definitely you need to see. But I think what'll help Johnny today is if the running game gets going, and it'll take a little bit of pressure off of him. He's not going to come in behind. I mean, if the Panthers come out and drive and score like the Bengals did, I mean, that just puts him behind the eight ball to start off the game. But just to put him in situations where he can complete some passes and not try to win the game or make a big drive coming from behind. So that's what needs to happen. Establish a running game and at least put Johnny in position to be successful.
Now, the defense is going to get Carlos Dansby back. That's good news. The bad news, of course, is it's not going to be Joe Hayden starting at corner. It's going to be Jordan Poyer. Hayden is out. K'Wan Williams is out. Jordan Poyer is going to start. So this secondary, they're in a little bit of trouble right now.
Well, that's been the situation for the defense for most of the year. Just all these guys have been getting injured, but guys have been stepping up. But as you saw in last week's game, it seems to be catching up to them. I mean, it's just only so much you can do. It's only so much depth you can have, and it doesn't look good for them as far as the secondary. But Cam Newton, he'll be coming back, and he didn't play last week, so maybe he'll be off a little bit, and that could be good news for the Browns.
It's a little weird to say this. Is it, like you said, is it maybe good for the Browns that they're facing Cam Newton today, coming off of that car accident, of course, and you don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do instead of, I can't believe I'm about to say this, Derek Anderson, who's played well in a couple of relief starts.
Yeah, and it's such a shame. It would have been such a great story for us in the media if he would have played and to see what type of motivation he has and just to see how, as you know, all ex-players that play against the Browns, they somehow have an all-pro game. So that would have been interesting to see. But hey, Cam Newton's out there, and we all know he's the better quarterback. But just how is he going to play after that car accident where he injured his back?
Looking at the Browns again, offensively, that running game, it really hasn't done much recently. How do they get that going again? How can Isaiah Crowell and Ben take it going? And is it on them? Is it on the offensive line? And what do you think the biggest factor is in all of this?
Well, it's a combination of both. And I don't want to say that these guys have hit a rookie wall, but I'm going to say it. I think they've hit that rookie wall right now, but they have to establish the running game today, and those guys just have to step up. But they're going against a defense that leads the league in forced fumbles, and sometimes these guys, the baby backs, can have a person to drop the ball. So it's going to be a big challenge for them, and they have to step up for it.
That's kind of what's interesting here. It's not just Johnny Manziel the Browns are trying to figure out still. They're still trying to figure out what they have in their running backs. They're still trying to figure out some guys at wide receiver. Even a guy like Josh Gordon, they're trying to figure out kind of how they can get him going a little bit. There's still a lot of question marks that they need to get answered in these last two games.
Yeah, and it's such a shame at this part of the year that you still have to the only thing a team should be answering right now is how well they're going to do in the playoffs or if they're going to get into the playoffs. And right now it's, again, the same old tune with the Browns. They're trying to find out things for the future instead of the present. So one day in our lifetime, I'm sure that it'll be a thing of where they're going to be placed in the playoffs and how well they're going to play.
What was your pick today?
I picked the Panthers. It wasn't a tough pick, especially what happened last week. And if Manziel can recover from that and play even better, I mean, that'll be great for the team. But based on how they played, and as I said, I think the running backs have hit a rookie wall. I think the Panthers are going to pull it out. And plus, they have something to play for.
That's true. Listen to this guy. He's like 10-4 picking the Browns this season. So you got to listen to what he says. He's picking the Panthers. All right, that's Branson Wright. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Tom Reed momentarily. And there he is, as promised, Tom Reed joining us here on our pregame show as we continue here till about noon. Mary Kay Cabot will be up next. Tom, Browns are out of the playoff picture, so they're not playing for that anymore, but they still have a lot of questions to answer. Branson and I were talking about that. We know about Johnny Manziel. We'll talk about him, but what else do they need to figure out about guys in these last two games?
I think that, all these guys are, a lot of these guys are playing for jobs. You certainly want to try to see some progress from Justin Gilbert, certainly. And I think you also like to maybe get a better, I don't know if a better idea of some of these, your running backs, how they're playing. I think they need to see Crowell kind of bounce back a little bit. I thought he really was playing well in the middle part of the season. Last couple of weeks, I don't know if it's been a hip injury or whatever. He's not had that same burst. And then, again, there's just going to be a lot of players playing for, contracts and, what they're going to do in this season. So, with this group, there aren't too many untouchables on this team. And, they're going to have to figure out, obviously, where you're going to draft. We were talking about that last night of, exactly what beyond quarterback, if that ends up being a position of need, they think it's a position of need. We weren't really clear on what position they need to draft. There's several, but not one that really jumps out other than, again, the unsettled quarterback.
Joe Hayden's out today. Carlos Dansby is back. That's good news. But now you've got Jordan Poyer starting at cornerback. So the secondary, you're going to have Screen, you're going to have Poyer. Tayshaun Gibson is out. Obviously, Jim Leonard has played well, but they're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel in the secondary right now.
Yeah, it's just like so many ends of so many seasons for the Browns. They're just having to find players right now. And again, this creates opportunity. And let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This is where this is where we always talk about Tayshaun Gibson, the Pro Bowler, possible Pro. This is where the Tayshaun Gibson started. This is a game like this where everyone was hurt, and these type of guys have to seize these opportunities. Jordan Poyer has kind of been more of a special teams guy, fills in occasionally. This is chances for these guys, and again, Justin Gilbert, a big opportunity again today.
Let's talk about Johnny Manziel because, again, different from last year when they were sort of playing out the string, when they had Jason Campbell, Brandon Weeden going. We knew neither of those guys were the answer. Still got to find out about Johnny Manziel. The first start, not so good. What do you need to see from Manziel today to kind of give you a little, at least, glimmer of hope that maybe he could be the guy?
Just improvement across the board, quicker decisions, more zip in passes. And I think part of it was just being indecisive, sometimes throwing off one foot, better mechanics. Just improvement across the board. The other thing I'm going to really watch today, and one of the things I've noticed, even back in the preseason, we saw Johnny Manziel run away from players at the college level. He's not running away from anybody up here, and that's a real concern because that's a big part of his game. And the Browns have said that we're going to try to let Johnny be Johnny when he can be, but if he can't run away from people, it's a bit concerning.
What was your pick for the day?
I picked the Panthers. I 21-17, something like that. It just seems with Hayden out and with his offense so unsettled right now, and it's certainly been trending down for weeks. It's hard to see where the Browns come up with enough points today, unless the defense is able to turn over Cam Newton a couple times. But we'll see.
All right, we'll take a quick break. That's Tom Reed. We'll be back with Mary Kay Cabot. And here she is, Mary Kay Cabot, on our Browns pregame show here, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. The Browns-Panthers kicking off at 1 o'clock. Mary Kay, Johnny Manziel, obviously the story you wrote about it, that if the Browns don't believe Johnny Manziel's the answer, they could be very aggressive in the draft, very aggressive in free agency. So what do they need to see out of Johnny?
Well, you know what? Even if they see something great out of Johnny, as Mike Pettin said, over these next two games, they still have to go out and look. They have to be on the hunt for another quarterback in the event that Johnny can't cut it. What if they go into next season and they determine that he can't get the job done? They have to have someone in place. So they have big, huge decisions to make on the quarterback in the offseason, in part and again, you can find this on cleveland.com, because Marcus Mariota, one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks ever to come out of college, is available, and the Browns have 2 first-round picks. So, and that pick may even get a little bit better today or by next week if they don't win these games. So they're going to have to look and see what they have out there in the draft. They're going to have to look out there in free agency. They're going to have to look around in trades because they need to probably shake up the quarterback situation a little bit.
How aggressive do you think they would be going after a guy like Mariota? And they have those 2 first-round picks. They'd probably have to give up a first-round pick next year, maybe a little more. Do you think they'd be willing to do that if they really liked him?
Well, I do know that at this time last year, I know that Ray Farmer loved Marcus Mariota, and I don't think that's changed with the season that he has had and winning the Heisman Trophy. So I know they like him, and they have long liked him. The question is, how do they feel about Johnny Manziel? And I do think that he has to show flashes in these games of the fact that he can get the job done. Now, one thing that he doesn't have that you're going to see Cam Newton have today, Cam Newton's not having a good season, but he has size. He has the size. So Johnny's going to have to demonstrate that he has the arm strength, the speed, and the playmaking ability to succeed at this level. But even if they do see flashes of that these next 2 games, they're going to have to be pretty darn convinced that he can come back and be their quarterback of the future, or else they have to be very aggressive.
When you say, like, what exactly do they need to see? Obviously, I guess more of that drive in Buffalo, but you're not going to see perfection from him, obviously. You're going to see things like what we saw last week, like what we saw in the second drive in Buffalo. Is it sort of let's see more of that first drive as opposed to that second one?
Yeah, you know what? It's hard because, he doesn't really know the scheme the way that he should know it yet. That's something that comes with time, with studying, with figuring things out. So they're just going to have to go on how well he moves. I mean, that's one thing you have to find out. Does he hold up? Does his speed and does his athleticism, does it hold up at this level? His vision, his field vision. We all know that he's a playmaker. Is he going to show that he knows where to go with the football? What do you do when the play breaks down? His arm strength, those kind of things. It's going to be tough because you're going to be going on a projection no matter what.
Other guys that have something to prove over these last 2 games with the Browns out of the playoff chase. How about the running backs, Isaiah Crowell and Terrence West? This is kind of their opportunity to prove that one or both of them should be, the featured or co-featured back next season.
Yeah, that's a tough call there. I mean, these 2, they're rookies, so they're going to have to take a step up next year, and just in terms of everything, playing away from the ball, blitz pickup, and that kind of stuff, catching the ball out of the backfield, and all the other things that a running back has got to be able to do. So those guys are going to have to step it up. Those are 2. Josh Gordon, they're looking hard at Josh Gordon because, if he doesn't sort of show them some things, who knows if he'll even be back next year. It's his last year. Going into next year is his last year of his contract. So he's another one that, they're watching him very closely to see what he does in these last couple of games. And then there's a lot of guys on defense, Jabal Sheard, Buster Skrine. These guys their contracts are up. So you never know. Some guys will be back and some guys won't.
Buster Skrine going to have an opportunity today with Joe Hayden out. It's going to be him and Jordan Poyer starting on the corner. The secondary getting very, very thin right now. What are you expecting to see out of a guy like Poyer?
Well, you know what? It depends on the formations that the Panthers come out in. If they play in a lot of 3 wides and multiple wides, then you will see Justin Gilbert on the field a lot. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how they split up and divide up the work. I am a little surprised that right now Jordan Poyer is listed as the starter ahead of Justin Gilbert, but that could just be sort of a scheme thing. Jordan Poyer, same thing. Justin Gilbert, Jordan Poyer, they've got a big task ahead of them because you've got Greg Olsen to cover today, big, huge tight end. You've got Kelvin Benjamin. I'm sure Buster Skrine will be covering him a lot, but there are some weapons on this team if Cam Newton can get rolling.
And, of course, some good news. Carlos Dansby is back today, so that's got to at least help a run defense that was playing better until last week when they got gashed by Jeremy Hill.
Yeah, and you know what? Jonathan Stewart had 155 yards in Week 14. And we know that, the Browns have been giving up 100-yard games to guys that people have never even heard of this year. So it's a tall task for them because not only do they have to worry about Jonathan Stewart running the ball, they, of course, have to worry about the second leading rusher who just so happens to be Cam Newton. So they have a tall order here to stop the run.
All right, what was your pick today?
I picked the Panthers 24-17. I think in large part just because of what I saw out of Johnny last week. It's just hard for me to imagine that he'd really be able to bounce back and be successful here on the road. But the key to the game for the Browns will be if they can get to Cam Newton a lot and rattle him. Paul Kruger is aiming for the sack record, so he wants to get a couple, the Browns sack record, he wants to get a couple today. And Cam Newton has been sacked 36 times. That's tied for 7th in the NFL. So the Browns are going to come after him. He's got a porous offensive line. So you're going to see Barkevius Mingo getting home. You're going to see Paul Kruger getting there and getting at least 1 or 2 more of his sacks that he needs to reach 14 to tie Reggie Camp. So you will see those guys attacking Cam Newton and trying to get him off his mark. They are not going to feel sorry for him that he was in a car accident 12 days ago.
One last question. Obviously the Browns out of the playoff chase, but the Panthers very much in it. The Ravens very much in it. Do guys find motivation in that, in the chance to, even though they're not playing for anything, the chance to play spoiler?
Yeah, you know what? I think so. I think that this is a team that has demonstrated it will play hard no matter what. So I think that the effort is there. I think the injuries have really just kind of taken its toll, and I think the quarterback situation just hasn't really worked out. And there's a lot of other issues on offense too, but I think the effort will be there.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot wrapping up our Browns pregame show. Thanks to Tom Reed, Branson Wright for joining us. We'll have full coverage of the game all day long at cleveland.com/Browns. I'm Dan Labbe. Thanks for watching.